Well, here we are. Wait a minute. There it is.
Here we are.
Hello, everyone. Merry Christmas. Happy to see everybody here. We'll get down to the bottom here. Who's this? Gilly. Gilly. Hi, Gilly. And Mickham and Monique. Give Gilly a wrench here. I wonder if that is Gollum. Is that Gollum? Ron. Hello, Ron. Merry Christmas to you. And Adam Schumacher. Hello, Adam. Get you a wrench. If you get a wrench on here and then you come back next week and you don't have it, it's because you're not signed up as a subscriber to the channel. Stud Sidious. My button is popping. Why is my button popping? I think I'm having trouble with the buttons, actually. The shirt's just slightly snug. I bought new shirts to match my new 40-pound less bod. And I think they're 50-pound less shirts. Keep popping the button. There, I got it. Pro Pyro Power. Gary Stein. Hello, Gary. Justin Herbert. Brittany Fogg. Hello, Brittany Fogg. Let's get you a wrench. There we be. Tyler Cagle. Is it possible to keep Oscars in a planted tank? What will they not eat? Well, it is possible. They won't eat generally swords, anubias, cryptocorenes probably, Java fern, hornwort. They generally will leave those alone. Also, if you have the tank heavily planted and you also have a couple of flat rocks, they don't have to be big, flat rocks in the tank to provide a hardscape for them to clean. Then they won't dig for china to try to get the hardscape, to base rock, if you will. So that's kind of a good trick that works. Also, getting them in that planted tank young makes a big difference because a lot of people have trouble with Oscars after they've had them 3 or 4 years in a bare tank, and then they want to plant the tank, and it just doesn't work. The fish are not going to tolerate anything in that tank that hasn't been there for their entire lives, or virtually so. So you need to start small cichlids, 2 to 3 inch guys, or smaller, in heavily planted tanks with a little bit of rock, and they should do well. It shouldn't be a problem. Jeff Kane, hello, Jeff. Brothers in the Pine. Let's see, is about to put, I'm going to give him a moderator, give him a wrench here. About to add 2 inches of sand to my tank. It's always been gravel, and I believe that's why it's always struggled. Had it for 5 years. It should work just fine, Brothers in the Pine. Should not be a problem at all. Yeah, get over on Discord and post some links so we can take a look at it. But if it's 5 years old, don't clean that gravel first. Let it get dirty and put the sand on top. That's going to help it create a dirt layer down in that gravel. Gary Stein, Arthur Jacques, add moderator. You got it, Arthur. Brothers in the Pine, my hobby. Hello, my hobby. Merry Christmas to you. And thank you very much. What's Pyro Power saying here? Do you know about Japonica freshwater shrimps? Thinking of adding them into a small tank with a lot of plants. Yeah, they'll eat. They will eat algae. Excuse me. Making fish bite-sized pieces. Well, I don't know about that. You're better off rather than cutting. If you're feeding like frozen fish or frozen shrimp, scallop, anything like that, rather than cut it, scrape it. Use the knife to scrape it. You'll get tinier pieces that will be more easily eaten by the fish. You won't have big chunks that they're trying to tear apart that could easily sit there and rot. So try scraping, particularly frozen food. That works particularly well with frozen food. Stud Sidious, Arowana went to fish heaven. Oh dear. Had it since college, 20 years. Now I have a big free tank. Yeah, I've had that happen. I've lost fish that I've had for years. It leaves a hole, you know, it really does. A big free tank. Well, you have to think about that a lot. Think about how you want to set it up, what you want to do with it. Come on over to Discord. We'll talk you through it, stud. Fish aren't eating it right now. Try scraping. See if that doesn't make a difference. Petraman is here. Hello, Petraman. I've not seen you in an age. Nice to have you with us. Tito's Aquarium. Merry Christmas. Who's this? Moy Canaldo. Get you a wrench. And then see what you got saved for yourself. Moy, just started my first aquarium following your substrate method. It's day 2, maintaining 83 Fahrenheit of 12 plants using old media now to cycle the tank. Get a few fish in there. If you got plants, you must have fish. You don't need a lot, just a few, 3 or 4 will be small fish will be more than enough, but get that started right away. With those plants in there, the tank is already cycled. Not completely, but the cycle is working. Plants will absorb ammonia directly. You do not need to wait. There's no advantage to waiting. And in fact, there is a disadvantage because it means the plants will not have the nutrients and the water column that they need in order to be able to thrive. So get a few fish in there. And who's calling me in the middle of my live stream? Why, it's Andy. Hello, Andy. Merry Christmas. You're on our live stream.
I wanted to make a little announcement on humidity.
Humidity.
Yeah, when we did the gift giving thing on the bad Santa, I had ordered these 3 hang on the wall. It's like a thermometer with the hemostat attached to it, so you can actually track the humidity in the room.
Sure.
And turns out that most of us aquarium guys that have all these tanks and stuff aren't keeping the moisture that's in the room.
Right, that's true.
Yeah. So basically, I started checking mine because I'm preaching. I'm trying to practice what I preach, and it turned out 65.
Wow,
That was on the high side,
that's a little high. It's not like it's
Yeah.
80, but
Oh, yeah. Well,
yeah,
your shop was 80.
right, that's true. Yeah,
That was real sweaty too, right? That was real moist.
right.
But when I was in the house, though, it's what's left over there was a moldy situation there. I think sand cats have probably had some issues too.
You had a lot of tanks in that, and you had carpeting. There were a lot of issues there. Plus,
Yeah.
plus the you didn't have plaster walls; you had paneled walls.
Right.
So, and that holds more moisture.
So I went down to get the biggest Honeywell air cleaner, right, with three.
A dehumidifier.
We got one of those, and I also got one with cleaner, right? I'm just gonna scrub this whole place.
Oh yeah.
It's a big one, and I got a radiant heater. The oil ones that roll around, right?
Oh yeah. Right. Right.
Yeah. I got caught short with this quartz heater the other day when it got cold, and it was real dry heat, and it's not good for my lungs. So I decided I would set this one up with the thermostat, and then I wouldn't get caught, with
Right.
the
Right.
and stuff.
Okay, I got a bunch of people asking questions here. I need to get on that, Andy. I want to talk to you later about the club meeting.
Yeah, it's fine.
Good. Glad to hear it. I'll get back to you. Nice to hear from you. Appreciate you calling.
Okay, take care.
Take care, Andy.
Goodbye.
Andy's a good friend from Florida who has maintained a lot of big tanks and is active in the Venice Aquarium Society, which I founded many years ago. So I wanted to catch up with them about their Christmas party. Let's see. Thomas Litchi have some Salvina with white dots on top. I think it's some kind of mold. Do you have any idea what? It's actually fish in the tank. Should I get rid of it? No, not at all. It will, whatever it is, it's going to be beneficial. So no, do not get rid of the Salvinia. It will not be a problem. It's obviously doing something. It's a plant. It could be mites. It could be little tiny mites that you see. You just don't notice them moving around. It's hard to say, but I would not suggest that it was a problem. Neo Veritas wants you to put a parasite remedy on it. I do not believe it's a parasite. And even if it were, you've got a balanced aquarium, Thomas. So the last thing you want to do is kill off parasites because that'll wind up killing off 50% of your biological system. Hedgie Senpai. Let's get you a wrench, Hedgie. Oh, you already got one. Aramis X. How to truly know if a culture of Phillips bag of bugs is flourishing. I see detritus worms and some bugs, but nowhere as much as I had imagined. Well, it could very well be that if you got them in with fish, they may be being eaten, or you could have inadequate nutrition. You need some dried leaves, and if it's in the tank, you need to build that up over a period of time so you have a bed of dried leaves in there. So make sure they're getting nutrition, and make sure they're also, if they're in the tank, they have adequate hiding places so they don't just get gobbled up. Sear in the blue. What is the fatherfish method or discus? Not a bit different than for anything else. The only issue is to maintain the temperature at an absolute minimum of 82. I like to do 84 to 85 with discus, but 82 is fine. Just don't let it get below that. Hello, Ricky. Happy to see you. There's I think one of the most controversial videos I have is the one that says 3. It's a short, and it's 3 principles of tank maintenance for new fish keepers. One of the things that I recommend is 82 degrees, and people who treat me as a casual and foolhardy um, commentator who has no knowledge of or understanding about fish will say to me, "Oh, there are fish that can't stand 82 degrees. That's much too warm." And of course, they're correct. And of course, I know that. So clearly, that's not what I'm talking about. New people getting fish will always acquire tropicals, fish that live in the tropics, fish that are from the equator, where the temperature never goes below 80 degrees and typically is 85 to 90. Now, there are all kinds of discussions about that. How well, if you keep it too warm, they won't live as long. And that may or may not be. Typically, live bearers live 2 to 3 years. And they'll live 2 to 3 years at 85 degrees as easily as 75. The oddball will live to 7 or 8 or 9 years. Somebody was mentioning here they had a platy that lived for, what was it, 5 years. 82 degrees is the temperature of the water in the summer in Florida. Now, certainly not 6 feet down, but 6, 8, 10, 12 inches down, absolutely. The temperature of the water will vary from month to month, season to season, and also will vary according to the depth of the body of water. But for a new hobbyist looking to be safe, 82 degrees is an optimal temperature for tropical fish. I'll bet I have said that 100 times, and still it comes up. It's amazing. Sir in the Blue asking about discus. I keep discus in a dirted tank with minimum water changes. Now, they're a bit more frequent. I do water about 10% water change once a month, or 25% every 3 months. I do that because I tend to feed discus more heavily in order to get growth. It's not a good idea, but it's generally pretty effective. As a result, there are nutrients building up in the water. The canary sounding off here. I have this most wonderful canary singer who just goes on all day long. He's an absolute joy. Hello, Ricky. Andrew Foley. Hello, Andrew Foley. Get down a little further here. Moy Canaldo. Which small fish do you recommend I get to start with? Live bearers, guppies, mollies, platies. Guppies, mollies, platies. Variotis, swords, but guppies, mollies, platies. They're hardy. Those are a good choice. They're always a good choice. Of those, molly and platy, guppies can be problematic. Molly and platy. And then you can begin adding some tetras. And there are so many. My name is Mud. Should I attempt the father fish deep method with a 48 by 18? Yeah, 110. Absolutely. Extra high. Nice. 30 inches high. Wow. 4 foot by 18. I had that tank. That's precisely that size tank. In acrylic, it had 3/4 inch thick. I think it was that. It was thick acrylic, which means that the top was a cutout top. Made it very difficult to reach. My arms are not 30 inches long. I built an 8 to 10 inch substrate in order to get the bottom up high enough to be able to get down in there to plant plants. And even at that, it didn't work all that well. I used tools for big plants. Tools are problematic. I had mostly swords, large mother swords in that tank. And I basically potted them and put them in because I had a tendency to sell them. It was a wonderful tank, an amazing display tank, stunningly beautiful tank. If you can manage the planting, you will be thrilled with it. And yes, by all means, do a dirted deep substrate. You can do 2 full inches of dirt and then 4 inches of sand. That'll get 6 inches, which is going to give you still 24 inches of water. It'll be plenty deep enough, and yet will provide a substantial substrate, so you'll be able to grow a lot of plants in there. It'll be a wonderful tank. I would love to see it. Join Discord, please, and post some pictures. I'd like to see the tank. He does have a beautiful voice, doesn't he, Rob? It's a nice bird. There's a fellow lives about 25, 30 miles north of me who raises canaries. So I've got these a pair here, and I'm going to be getting more, and probably will be moving them into my warehouse. I did a little 5-6 minute video, just a quick walkthrough of the warehouse today. It'll be posted probably tomorrow, so it'll give you an idea of what I'm dealing with. I don't have any tanks set up yet, so it's we're slow getting started, but we've been so busy with shipping out plants that we just haven't had the time to do very much else. Green neon tetras, ember tetras, Chilean harlequin rasbora. Oh yeah, wonderful fish. I would not start with them though. Start with something that's going to be really hardy and stable, which is like mollies or platies. And then by all means get into these the tetras and rasboras that Erie is describing. They're just wonderful, and I especially recommend the green neons. I think they've got the cardinal and the regular neon beetle hollow. They don't have the red on them, but they're hardy. They're a strong, healthy fish and an easy fish to spawn. Pyropower, a pro pyropower is saying, gotta say, after breeding guppies for years, that they love to bake in the sun when the water temp is lower down in the setup. Basically, when the warmth around the depth is around 17 Celsius, they thrive. And that's pretty cold. That's low 70s. But they notice they said they'll come right up in the sun in the hottest part of the water in the middle of the day. I think they cannot trap heat, but they certainly warm up to the point where their body is functioning at a higher level. Their color is stronger. They're just obviously a happier fish. Let's see, who's this? Atkins. Thank you, Atkins. Nature Aquarama. Merry Christmas to you. Janet C., what are some food recommendations for nanofish besides flake? The best thing, of course, is to get a food web going. If you can do that, and it takes a while to do it can take months to get a good food web. But what that will do is provide a permanent source of live food for nano fish, such that you will never have to put other food in there. Now, you can't maximize the population with that, or just too many fish are going to wipe it out. But if you've got half an inch or so of leaf mold, and you've got a pretty good culture of microfauna in there, as well as macrofauna, it's going to survive long term in a 10-gallon tank with a dozen to 15 fish. And you will never have to put food in there. Birds are great, but audio nightmare. Well, there is that, Gary. Rob Miller, thanks to your method, I sold more plants. $60 this time. We'll have to set up another tank to keep up with the demand. Well, bravo. Good job. Good job, Rob. G. Platt, cherry barbs are a good starter fish. Cherry barbs. Yeah, cherry barbs are nice. Tiger barbs are not. I would not start with a tiger barb. They're very hardy, but they're also extremely aggressive. And any other fish you put in with them is going to suffer the brunt of their aggression. But yeah, cherry barbs are nice. They're a relatively small fish. They're pretty. They're busy and active. They are gorgeous. Yes, they are. Absolutely, says Wasp. Erie, platies are bomb proof. Albino cherry barbs can survive the apocalypse. Yep, absolutely. Let's see. Earl. Let me get Earl a wrench here. And Earl is saying, I drill water wells and always wash large, very fine gray sand from the borehole. The sand comes from around 80 foot deep. It sits on top of gray salt clay. Do you think this sand would work? Yeah, absolutely. It'll be perfect. Um, it's already perfect. It's already doing a miraculous job of filtering the water table that is going through on top of that clay. Hedgie Serpe, what did you cap your dirted tank with? I was talking with BH. JB8. Hey, Father Fish, got a 2.5 gallon tank. Wanted to know appropriate substrate for storing a betta. Um, if you want to dirt it, you certainly can. 1/2 inch of soil, 1 inch of sand. 1/2 inch of soil, 1 inch of sand. When you plant shallow. Yeah, you might be better off with anubias and java fern, some plants without roots, and then try a few stem plants as you get a little further along. The stem plants will root themselves. You don't have to push them down in the bottom very much. Andrew Foley, welcome, welcome. Spiritual Sagai, nice to meet you. Mr. Amili, the 2 new tanks that he posted on Discord are still doing great, and they will. That's wonderful. BH, in response to the question about substrate, it's 1.5 inch of potting soil capped with 2.5 inches of natural river sand. So there's an adaptation of the Father Fish system. It's really closer to oh dear, to Diana Wallstead. It's really closer to Wallstead's system. She uses essentially potting soil. She has taken changed from her aversion to sand, which the plant forum for a period of time was absolute death on, until a few people actually tried it and realized it really is better than gravel. So they've had a come to Jesus moment, as had Dr. Wallstead, who is now in her new updated, revised version of Ecology of the Planet Aquarium, is praising the benefits of sand. Who'd have believed it? Mr. H started my first natural tank. Thank you for the information. Well, you're very welcome. Who is this? Whoops. Is that JRB? JBB. JBB. JB8. Sorry. Merry Christmas, Fatherfish. Helped us significantly with my first tank of schooling fish. The methods you've showed are my favorite. We need to get you a wrench here. Cockatiel Obsession. Hello, hello. Melody Rose. Erie first. Erie is saying set up a tiger barb only tank. Wow. An only tiger barb tank. Well, I'm sure it's busy and it's probably dramatic. I mean, they are really sharp looking fish. And if you got a tank full of them, that probably is real. I would like to see that. Try to get some vid posted for us. I'd really like to see that. Can we add Malaysian trumpet snails to a dirted tank? There is nothing better than Malaysian trumpet snails in a dirted tank. They love it. They're like the earthworm of the substrate. Absolutely perfect. Now, they really don't go down very deep, about 1/2 inch, maybe a little better. So they stay pretty much at the surface, but that makes them invaluable as one of the first group of chompers who are breaking down waste as it's passing into the substrate, making it tinier so it goes even further through. Excuse me. Well, I'm belching or hiccuping. I think I got it. Meat loves platies. I do too. I have a tank of platies over here. Our aquatic universe with Mike B. Hello, hello. Adam Leach. Question, Father Fish. Get you a wrench and we'll see what your question is. My resurrection jar has been up for several weeks. Just noted leeches and some sort of flatworm. Should I still use it or start over? Leeches. W. Bass, a member for 2 months. Nice to have you here, W. Bass. Leeches, there are approximately 100 different species of leeches. The majority of them are filter feeders. They do not suck blood. The one or two, there are actually two species that do, only attach themselves to fish long enough to get a meal, and then they drop off, spawn, and create another population. If you have a strong food web, that food web is going to control that population of baby worms, baby leeches, such that they're not likely to become a problem. I have never had a fish die from being attacked by a leech. They do not kill. They get a meal and they drop off. They do, however, reputedly kill shrimp. So you might consider that. So here's what you can do. The dangerous ones, if you will, have a diamond head. So if the leeches you have a diamond head, then simply exclude them from the tank. Now, if you only have two or three that are in the resurrection jar, take them out if you don't want them. Take them out. You can take them out with a siphon, with tweezers, with your hand. There are lots of ways to get rid of them. Take them out and then keep an eye on it for another couple of weeks to see if more come along. If you have a leech that is a problem leech and you don't have fish or shrimp in there, you're not going to have babies. That won't happen until it's able to get a meal from a larger animal. So just don't put them in the tank, and the danger will be averted. No need to start over. And if it's other kinds of leeches, the fish will eat them. In point of fact, the fish will eat even the ones with the diamond head. So the reality is, if you have full-grown mollies, platies, those kinds of fish, angels, whatever, in the tank, they're going to eat the leeches before they become a problem. So it's really not an issue. Let's see, I did give you a wrench, didn't I? We all need some of that sand. Sounds good to me. Whitfish are in the tank behind me. There are about 20 species of tank, 20 species of fish in the tank behind me, Ringo. A lot of them are rainbows. some tetras. These in the front are fundulus, which is a native Florida fish. They range up the coast. I think they get into the Carolinas. They may even come all the way up here in Maryland. The males get quite pretty as they get bigger. These are a rainbow here, the fundulus. I'm afraid to move my camera because it always drops off, but I guess I'll do it. I tried tying it together, so we'll see if I can get away with it. Rainbow. These fundulus, there's one right there. That's a male with the orange tail. They're not in breeding form right now. They get a lot prettier than that. And they also get bigger. They'll get, those are about 2 inches. They'll get 3 to 4 inches. I have 4 males and 1 female. The females, the pattern is completely different. If you can see her, she's a bigger fish. There she is. She has spangles, silver flecks all through her body. The males do not have that. The males have bars, which you may be able to see. And of course, the orange tail. There's the female. She's staying to the back, so it's going to be hard to see. That may be a male. That's a male. It's not the female. There, is that her? That's a male. That's a male. I do have 1 female in here. Pencil fish, cardinals. There are also Formosa. In here, there's a colony of Formosa. Those are pencils. That's a little bluefin killie. He has a white spot on his tail that he's had for months. So I haven't bothered to take him out and get rid of it because it's not doing anything. All right, let's see if I can get this back. That was amazing. I didn't lose signal. I always lose signal when I move that. I think I may have fixed it a little better. How much and how often should I add ground up eggshells? Well, what you can do is keep an eye on them. When they completely disappear, then add more. But do not put a lot in. You don't really need a lot. Put a little bit in. And then wait and see how it goes. You may find that snails will eat it. Fish will poke around at it, but it will dissolve in the water. So it's going to act as a buffer to help hold the pH up. It contains calcium and carbonates. Atkins is here. Hello, Atkins. Talking about lamprey eels. Andrew saying, James, go to your local lake and gather plants from the water. Absolutely. A bag of suet? I don't know. Moving right along here. By the way, for those of you who have been around for a while, I finally got through to Mary and have asked her to join me as a silent partner in the live streams in order to keep up with the chat. and signal me through an earphone when there is something I'm missing. There's always something I'm missing. Aquatics is here, and exotics. Been gradually adding more sand to my lurking 75-gallon, and it's crystal clear now. Yeah, that's part of what I need to do here. I'm at a level now where I've almost given up on this tank. My substrate is 5 inches deep. And in order to clear it, I need to add another ½ inch to an inch. I'm just not willing to do it. I've also had a nice crop of miniature swords, micro swords, that are carpeting here in this area and over here. And I really don't want to disturb them. But I'm not happy with the fact that the tank is staying cloudy. I've been adding plants to it, and they're not catching quickly enough to really take it down. I can load it up with duckweed and it'll clear it up. I just don't want to have duckweed and salvinia all over it. It takes too much light out and slows the other plants down. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't very well break it down. I think I have to leave it. It's just going to be there, and we'll just see what happens. Andrew Foley just donated $2 to the cause. Thank you, Andrew. There's somebody else. Here it is. Who is this? Whoops. The Nerdy Diva. ISC, the Nerdy Diva, donated $9.99, planning on converting my 125 to a deep sub planted. Watched your videos for larger fish. What plants will Severums not eat? Thank you again. Severums. You know, I'll tell you what, I love Severums. I think one of my absolute favorite fish is a male golden Severum. I don't think there is, other than maybe the Discus, which are not even real, but the male golden Severum with a red striata through the head and that rich golden color with flecks of silver in it. There is at 6 to 8 inches, there is no more spectacular fish. Start with little ones. Start with small fish if at all you can do it. They will be much less aggressive toward plants than taking an old fish that's been in a bare tank for years and suddenly filling it with plants. They will not be happy with that. And they will tear it to shreds. If you want to do big fish in big tanks that are planted with a deep substrate, you must start with small fish. So hopefully that's not out of the question, and you're not trying to do something for a couple of really big, spectacular gold Severums. If you are, there is a way to deal with it. Sword plants, but not one or two. In a tank that size, at least a dozen of the largest you can get. I just got in, I don't even have them listed yet, several mother sword plants. They are 1.5 feet tall. They're big plants. I only have 3 or 4. I can get more. Anyone who wants to do that, contact me and I can order them. They're not horribly expensive. for as big as they are, those big plants, I usually sell them for about $25 each. They're well worth that. I would sell them in my shop for 50. And I can get them in several different species. Oriental is one. Amazon, don't remember. But ask me about it if you're interested. No, I'll let you know what's available and what it'll cost and so forth. But that's one way to be able to do a really a wonderfully planted, large planted tank with fish that would otherwise tear the plants up. Now, here's what happens. They will begin, if they're eating plants, they will begin eating one plant, and as they nibble it down, they'll become more interested in that single plant and may, over a period of a week or more, eat it right down to the root. So you put another one in and let them do it again. Eventually, the situation will stabilize. You'll learn how to feed them things like spinach and other kinds of green leafy vegetables in order to get them off the plants. You'll find what they like and be able to make the transition. So it can be done. It takes some patience and some perseverance and a gentle hand. Don't try to smack them every time they get near the plant. That'll just make them more neurotic. Give them some options, and it'll work out. It'll work out real well. Nature is dirty, says Christian. So it is, and so it is. Dean Stevenson wanted to say how happy I was with the plant order. Well, thank you so much, Dean. I appreciate hearing that. And we do have people who get plants in that are melted. We ship about 125 or so packages a week. Of those, half are the bundled plants, about 60 a week. And of those, we'll get one, rarely two, but we'll get one that came through melted. It either was late being delivered, and by late I mean a week late, or it went through a weather cycle where it either froze or was cooked. Other than that, we never have a problem. If it's late, if it's frozen, if it's cooked. And that really doesn't happen very often. It happens rarely enough that I simply ship out another batch. No questions asked. I usually will ask for $10 to cover the cost of the shipping because typically it's not my fault, it's the post office. But by doing that, I'm sharing the burden a little bit with the customer and making sure they stay happy because I want them to be happy. Tracy Brewing just got on. Let's get you a wrench, Tracy. And you are saying, just got my first 70-gallon tank. What filter system should I plan to get for a natural tank? You can do a couple of different things. 70 is large enough to use a small sump, a small canister filter. I really like canister filters in large tanks because they keep a steady flow of the water. Not a big one, a little one. One that will keep the water flowing. I think it's vitally important to have flow. Now, in a pond, you don't have flow. But most ponds, as they get out into deeper water, that there are dead. There's nothing is growing out there. They live around the perimeter. Their fish may go out to deeper water, but you won't find much microfauna out there, and you won't ever find plants, and you'll never find algae down deep because the sunlight doesn't reach it. So a pond is kind of an unusual environment. And we're really not trying to duplicate a pond. What we're trying to duplicate is the perimeter of the pond and a creek or a stream. Can be very slow flowing, but if you've got some sponge filters and a little tank, it'll create enough turbidity, enough water movement, so you won't get dead pockets. And with a large tank like a 70, a small canister will keep that water flowing. I would also add a sponge filter and or just an air stone. And the reason is with a larger tank, it is, for whatever reason, more likely that one of those devices is going to fail. And that way you've always got a backup. In a little tank, you'll notice it more quickly. And for some reason, it's less consequential. I think because with the fish movement, there is more water movement going on. In a bigger tank, the fish are really not moving the water very much. There also are more temperature climbs in a smaller tank that cause that water to have a natural kind of flow for whatever reason. Now, that doesn't go to oxygen. Oxygen deprivation is a serious issue in a small tank. So you need to be sure to have a lot of plants because they will oxygenate that water. In a big tank, a small canister or a hang on the back, you can do a hang on the back, or and a sponge filter. Gandalf, what's best to feed cories until my food web is set up? You can get blackworms, best in the world. Other than that, they'll eat nearly anything. Feed zucchini, slices of zucchini, spinach. You probably will have to pin it down to the bottom to keep it down there, but they'll eat that. They'll eat spinach. They'll eat zucchini, as will every other fish in there. The zucchini is especially good. Sunfish for fish. Merry Christmas to you. Let's get you a wrench. Oh, that's sunfish and Gandalf. Did I get? No, I did not. Let me get you a wrench as well. Liam, give Mr. Fish a thumbs up. Tell him we all love him. Merry Christmas. Let's see. Liam, Father Fish. If you add more sand, what do you do with the plants? Leave them? My sand has gotten not as thick. Not as thick. It's compressed. It's actually not compressed. It's actually full of detritus. It's become soil. Sand does not compress. It's a rough edged material that just kind of locks in like that, but it doesn't compress. It always has openings. Even when bacteria is growing on all the surfaces, those corners and edges are still maintained. If it were perfectly round, it would be as well. But it is very likely packed with detritus, which means, yeah, you need to add another half inch of sand. The effect on the plants is if you start by adding half an inch or even a quarter of an inch, it will give the crown, the plants that have crowns, the swords, the crypts, the val, the sag. It will give those plants a chance to kind of grow up at the surface. Their crown needs to be at the surface. If you bury them completely, they will die. So by adding a small amount, it gives them a chance to kind of grow up to the surface, and they will do that. They're able to increase the length of that crown, which is where all the leaves come together and the roots come out. That crown, where the roots come out and the leaves go in, that can get longer, and it will get longer to ensure that the plant is able to remain with the tip of the crown at the surface of the substrate. So just put small amounts of sand in at a time. It doesn't take long for that to happen. A week or so. It's pretty quick. Hedgie Serpe is saying to Tracy Brewing, do some research. So buy what I like, I'm very new. He's saying do some research on compatibility. If you will, yeah, if you will start with live bearers and tetras, pretty little fish, you will be fine. Just don't get something that you don't understand, like a baby Oscar, or we were talking earlier about tiger barbs. Pretty fish, but mean little sucker. No barbs. You don't need barbs to start. You need live bearers and a few tetras. Starting with live bearers, you do 3 or 4 a week in a smaller tank until you get it up to, depending on the tank, 10 to 20 fish. If it's a 10-gallon tank, 20. If it's a 5-gallon tank, maybe 10 or so. Put 2 or 3 at a time once a week. So as you add those new fish, you'll be able to observe them, see what's happening, and if you have a problem, you'll be able to deal with it. You take them out and take them back to the shop and say, why'd you sell me this? I told you I only wanted gentle fish. Now, having said that, I got to get into this. Fish chasing each other is not aggression. Fish chase each other all the time. Male fish chase female fish. One species will chase another species. One species will chase its own species. Fish are doing this chasing all the time. Observe carefully whether there are nipped fins. If you're seeing the fins with little notches coming out of them, I got one here. I got 2 actually. I have a guppy and I've got a betta. The male guppy has notched fin. The female betta has virtually no tail fin. Now, they've been in here for 6 months. They're stable. Whatever it was happened a long time ago and is no longer happening. But it's what you want to look for. You want to look for nip fins. If you see nip fins, try to figure out who's doing it and remove them. Take them back to the shop and complain that they gave you a fin nipper. That's a technical term, fin nipper. Lee M is saying, I love my 2 honey gouramis. Honey Grammies are a sweet little fish, not at all aggressive, very gentle, very peaceful, sweet, sweet fish. But Grammies in general are not. One of the most aggressive fish that a beginner can put in their tank is a blue gourami. Don't do it. Pretty fish gets big is an absolute terrorist. They will destroy other fish. Don't do it. Here he is saying, don't leave me in suspense. What is it? Tommy? Is Tommy here? Yes, Tommy is here. Hello, Tommy. Tommy says, what is green covered in Christmas lights and Christmas bulbs? And goes, ribbit, ribbit. And people stand under it and kiss. It's a mistletoe. Tommy Denda humor here. Oh, glory. Hedgie Senpai says, Tracy, a good rule of thumb is to make sure your fish can't fit into another fish's mouth. Well, that is a good rule. Don't buy Malawi African cichlids. I don't care what size they are for your brand new little tiny tank. They will get big so fast and kill everything so fast that by the time you catch up with them, there will only be one left because he's killed everything else. No African cichlids. That is, no Malawi cichlids, no umbunas or peacocks. Don't do it. Not in a little tank. If you want them, put them in a 55-gallon tank loaded with rockwork. You can certainly have plants in there and put a dozen in. It will be amazing for about 1 year. And then you'll start finding dead ones because they will kill each other off. Not a wonderful fish. Spectacularly beautiful fish. Amazing, wonderful behaviors. They're a mouth brooders, pretty easy to spawn. And some of the colors on the peacocks are so stunning. Bright, sharp, brilliant color. Beautiful, beautiful fish. A tank of large male umbunas and peacocks is a sight to behold. But it ain't a permanent condition. You're not going to be able to maintain it long term unless you keep bringing new ones in to replace the ones that are getting killed. They're like chickens. There's always the runt that's getting beaten on by everybody until it's dead. And then there's another one. And there will always be the one that everybody goes after to kill. It's the nature of the fish. Well, let's see. Alexander Bodenko. Hello, hello. My 20-gallon dirted natural tank is doing well. Has lots of plants, 5 target barbs, 5 tetras, 2 from 2 something, and 1 pleco. I feel I cannot add anything else, although I wanted the blood parrot. The blood parrot would not be a problem in there. Uh, uh, that's a pretty busy tank. What size is it? 20 gallon. 5 terabards, 5 tetras. Well, oh, yeah, you can have load it up with plants. Get it planted heavily. Lots of plants. That's good. You can put another 10 fish in that tank. Go ahead and put the blood parrot in there. That'll be equal to 5 of them because they get pretty good size. And you may not be able to leave them in there long term. You may need to get a bigger tank for them. But you can do a lot with a 20. I would go ahead and get the blood parrot. Shane Gun 10 bought a barramundi. Oh my God. Shane is obviously in down under. Barramundi are illegal to export out of Australia, illegal to import into the US, or I think pretty much anywhere else. I had a friend many years ago who he brought them in illegally in wine bottles, barramundi baby ones, and he was actually able to get some in that way. Oh, he probably couldn't get away with it today. Yeah, it's a magnificent fish. Huh. Had to feed him bait I normally go fishing with. You bet. Magnificent fish, stunning fish. One of those giants that everybody outside of Australia is dying to get and can't. The other is the that is the barramundi, the arowana. I was thinking that is the barramundi. Incredible fish. Black moors wait at the Bristlenose Plateaus cave for a free. Yeah, right. Want to eat the babies, huh? Fatherfish, tell us your favorite joke. Do I remember? I told a joke some months ago. I think I remember it. I don't want to tell it. Yeah, a joke. I don't do jokes. Really. I mean, I don't remember jokes, which is odd because as someone who loves to entertain, jokes would be a natural. They just never stick. I mean, I enjoy listening to stand-up comedians, but it never sticks in my brain. Let's say something that'll rarely do I actually laugh. I'm entertained. Every once in a while I just give it up. I'll think of something. Painting with Wendy. That's something in a 40 gallon high. Dane is talking about dirted tanks with axolotls. I've got axolotls in dirted tanks. They don't dig. They don't dig at all. They stay right on the surface. They're not going to create a problem. I've got plants growing. I have one little tiny spotlight that I'll have to show you this. All right. Here we go again. We're going to lose the picture now for sure because I'm going to walk to the other side of the room. Let me see if I can do this. No! I don't even know if we'll be able to see it. Let's see. I've got hedgehogs in here. They're sleeping. Still one down here. There he is. Um, I've got Vallisneria in here. That's the female. I have a male. Well, I think is back there. You can sort of see him a little bit. I feed them. I cut up earthworms, night crawlers. They won't eat a big night crawler, but they will eat them if you cut them up. So that's what I do. And I'm hoping they're going to spawn this. This is my crash, by the way. This crash was given to me by a woman many years ago who got it from her father. Her father served in World War II, and when he came back from Germany in 1945, he brought this with him. So it's been around a long time. And it's kind of chipped up and beat up, and a few things are broken, but it has a lot of sentimental value. I got that when I was running a runaway center in Baltimore City many, many years ago. It's back home. We can show you a hedgehog. The female I can't get to because she's in a box that is tied down. But the male is right here. We can look at him. He's not all that friendly. He's got his spikes up. He's looking at us, hiding his face. He's not real friendly. I separated them because the male kills babies. So I'm hoping I'm going to be able to get some babies out of it. Thank you. There's the other axolotl right down there. Yeah, didn't lose picture. That's amazing. Hoo-ha. All right, what else is going on here? Andy Foley. We got you. Let's see. I'll get back over here. Jacques Haas. Hobby is amazing for our mental health. It is indeed. I'll get you a wrench. There we go. W. Bass. Josh is saying I had to stop feeding my umbunas earthworms, the only food they'll fight over. If you can't share and be nice, you don't get any more earthworms. Oh, yeah, I know. Hedgehog can swim. Yes, they can. They actually float. Stray Whistler. Hello, Stray Whistler. Let's get you a wrench. Corporal Jagger is here. Hello, hello. Nice to see you, Corporal. I'll see you over on Discord. For sure. Stray Whistler. When's the next plant pack? Wednesday. This coming Wednesday. And that'll go out Wednesday and Thursday, and then the following Wednesday and Thursday. And then we'll be back on schedule to be shipping Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Normally we ship 4 days a week. With Christmas and New Year's, we can only ship 2 days, and 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 that's Wednesday. Well, we can ship Tuesday and Wednesday. We can only ship Tuesday and Wednesday. If we ship Thursday, it's going to be tied up for the entire weekend and won't be delivered until the following Tuesday. And that's 5 days. That's really too long. We try to get things delivered within 2-3 days tops. If we can do that, we're in pretty good shape, and we're not going to really have a problem. Now, if it were fish, it would be different. But with plants, it works out fine. Who is this? Captain Morgan. Will using rocks out of my creek in the backyard or driftwood from the river cause any problems? It will not. It will not cause problems, but it will be enormously beneficial, particularly if you can find rocks in the creek that are covered in growth. There is a natural growth that occurs over a period of many years. And by many, I mean 20, 30, 40, 50 years on rocks that remain in the water that is a thick, rich, strong, vibrant, healthy mat of life. Not just plant, but animal life as well. It's bacteria, it's algae, it's fungus, it's microculture, macroculture, just everything imaginable on that. If you can find those, and they're not easy to find, not every creek is full of them. You'll find one or two because they get broken up. If there's a flood that comes through and rolls the rocks around, it gets beaten up. So it's a little hard to find pieces like that. But if you can, they are enormously beneficial in an aquarium. They're absolutely the very best thing you can possibly put in a fish tank. So be on the lookout if you're out collecting in rocky creeks, rocky streams. Look for those rocks that are covered in, may just look like slime. It'll look like algae. It'll be a growth on the rock, and that's what you're looking for. Now, it may be on the bottom and not on the top. That's okay too. Take that. You can even put it back in the tank, bottom side down, not flash up against the bottom because it wants to be setting up a little bit. But be on the lookout. That's something that's well worth having. Do I ship to Ireland? Yes. I have a supplier in the UK who ships Ireland, Scotland, GB, all throughout the UK, and is setting up relations with a supplier in the EU in order to be able to supply the EU as well. That's not ready yet. We're still working on it, but we are in the UK and are able to ship to anyone in the UK. Dooby-doo, Whistle Robin, Merry Christmas. In order to reach that supplier, you need to go to fatherfish.fish. That's our website, fatherfish.fish. It's a glorious website, really pretty, with a lot of resources on it. And we're adding new resources all the time. But if you'll scroll down, you'll find it. It'll be in the UK. Now, we also have a Canadian supplier. We have a supplier in Brazil. And we're working on Australia. And as I mentioned, the UK. Also trying to find somebody in India. We have a large contingent of subscribers in India, and really need to be able to to provide at least the substrate supplement. Let's see. Tommy said, Maeve mentioned you can grow algae on rocks in a bucket. You can buy nutrients online that'll help grow the algae on the rocks, or you can find some and put them in with other rocks. Works same way with coral. Need to have a tour meet fans ender. I have thought about that, and I really want to do it. I think the way to do it, I don't know, is maybe link up with shops in various cities and do a father fish day at the shop, something like that, and promote it ahead. I even thought about doing get-togethers, like uh, get a small facility for cheap or free, promote it for a month, get people signing up, charge a little minor fee in order to cover costs like $10 or $20 or something. Try to get a minimum number of, say, 25 people, and then go there and have a day. Have a day of it. Do what we're doing here. I would love to do that. That would be such great fun. I am doing more programs now in clubs online as well as uh, visiting clubs. And that's a lot of fun too. I really enjoy being able to do that as well. Thomas Didymus. Thomas has had a wrench and does not now. Thomas, make sure that you are signed up on the Fatherfish channel as a subscriber in order to be able to keep the wrench I just gave you. And he says, are there specific plants that are better for hard water, high pH? I'll tell you frankly, there are very few that are not. Even the plants that grow in soft acid water grow better in hard alkaline water. I don't know of any fish that do not grow in hard, any plants that do not grow in hard alkaline water. The Aponogetans are a soft water plant, but I've grown them out for years in hard alkaline water and they thrive. They just take hold and run with it. So I really don't know anything that doesn't. There may be. It may be that Buse, which is a saltwater plant, will do better in saltwater than acid. I know I've never done well with Buse, and that may be why. I had to separate two of my female guppies because they were fighting and wouldn't stop. You ever seen this odd behavior? Normally peaceful fish. I have seen it. And it is a little confusing. I have noticed, however, that in spite of the fact they're squabbling, nobody ever seems to get hurt. I never see missing scales or nipped fins. Now, I suppose it's possible for one female guppy to kill another female guppy. I don't know what they're squabbling over. It's kind of hard to say. It could be a couple of. I mean, it's got to do with the being female. It's either a territorial thing where they're squabbling over the interests of the male. That seems highly unlikely. Or they're trying to eat each other's babies as they are or before they are being born. Seems similarly unlikely. I don't know why they're squabbling. But if you leave them alone, they'll quit doing it. They won't keep it up, and they do not seem to hurt each other. Leave them in there and prove me wrong. How's that? I'm willing to be proven wrong. Let's see. Cockatiel obsession. Male guppy versus female versus betta. Both die, but guppy dies first. Is this? I don't understand what that's in reference to. Let's see. Ahmad Jute. We need to get you a wrench. And he says, what should we do with goldfish? Deep substrate work with that? Goldfish are a bit of a problem. The solution is large gravel as a thin layer on the top, like marbles even. Something big enough they can't pick it up. A single layer of marbles. It's going to solve the problem. Now, if these are comets, they may get into fanning. Fanning is what some cichlids do when they are trying to make a pit. They'll fan the sand in order to blow it out. I've seen goldfish, comets, fan a little bit in order to create a bit of a bit of a depression. But if you will add something large, like little marbles, just one layer deep to the surface, it'll prevent the problem. And it also will not prevent plants from growing up through them. And it'll prevent them from being able to pull the plants out because it'll help to ground them. Gustavo Perez, need to get you a fish father idol, he said. Then he asked a question about guppies. What variety is the guppy that he says he's been breeding for many years? The one I've talked about is the German half black red. It's a fish, a guppy, the male, is half black. The back half of the body is black. It has a red fan tail. Typically, its dorsal fin is long and maybe iridescent. And then it may have some iridescence up around the gills. That fish was initially designed 75 years ago. It may well be the only guppy from that era, the only strain of guppies from that era that exists today. And I think it is a sign of two things. Number one, it is rock solid, genetically rock solid, and is not dependent upon recessive genetic traits, but dominant genetic traits like the red and the black. And it is a spectacularly beautiful fish that has simply been maintained by breeders for 75 years. So that would be, I don't have any right now. I see them occasionally. I haven't seen any I like well enough to get because I have an idea of exactly what I want. And when I see them, I'm going to snag them. Let's see. Utah is here. Hello, Utah. Yeah, Josh Jones is going to let him work it out. You never know. I mean, it's possible one could kill the other. It seems highly unlikely, but strange things happen. Bonnie Hood. Bonnie needs a wrench and an answer to a question. It begins with, do I have to cover my 65-gallon community to help keep it clean? No, you don't need to cover it to keep it clean. I cover all my tanks in order to keep evaporation down. And that, frankly, is the only reason I do it. Now, as a result of that, I cannot have plants growing up out of my tanks. Unless I drop the water level halfway down, then I could have them growing up out of the water. But I haven't done that. Although maybe it's not a bad idea. I'm looking at a couple of tanks I could do that with. I've just never done it. But it would kind of be cool, and maybe I ought to do that. Anyway, that's why and what. I don't like adding water all the time. I like water being stable. If I notice there's some lethargy among the fish, the water is not precisely the way I'd like it to look, there are one or another kinds of problems, then I'll do a water change. But I don't do routine water changes because I've become convinced by breeders in the industry that aged water is superior to new water. And I've done enough research, albeit research with people who are otherwise questionable in the research field, who make the same claim. And who claim, in fact, that the older the water is, the healthier the water is. I'm looking for a book here I'm not going to find. It's all about that. I don't know where it is. Probably down the bottom of my pile. And it's sitting out for months. But it's not now. I don't know. I'll find it. Anyway, that's why. I have a different attitude about water. I was watching a video today of a fellow who does regular water changes. He does 50 to 75% water changes, I think monthly. Now, here's the thing. He maintains a large vat of treated, seasoned water. So that water has been bubbling in a vat. It's like a 75-gallon vat for weeks to a month at a time. And that's what he uses to do water change. So technically, it is not new water. It is water that's aged. Now, it's not aged with fish or plants, but he's not covering it either. So there are microfauna getting in there, all kinds of other stuff coming in out of the air that are seeding that water and balancing that water. So by the time he gets it in his tank, it has been seasoned for a month. So he's not switching brand new water for old water. He's switching aged water with older aged water. That's much less problematic. I made the comment in his comment section that his system depended upon his prepped water vat system, and it certainly does. So that's a nice resolution to the problem of water changes by changing it with water that is already aged, at least to the extent of having the chemistry balanced in it. Water coming out of the tap is a mess. It's got all kinds of problems, not the least of which is no oxygen in it. It has a pH imbalance. Usually there's a chemical imbalance of one kind or another. May have chlorine in it. May, God knows, have chlorine or fluoride in it. I mean, you never know. Even well water, which I trust implicitly, doesn't have oxygen. I mean, it's filtered water. It's running through a sand filter in the earth. It's perfectly clean, but it's not really balanced water. It's not in a living environment. It's an essentially a sterile environment. The effect of that is occasionally, not always, not perhaps even often, but occasionally, it will be sufficiently out of balance with no way of knowing that every fish in the tank will die in a matter of minutes. That's the risk of doing regular water changes with tap water. I do not recommend it. I just don't. Let's see. Neo Veritas, stocking ideas. And that quickly I lost it. It's gone. Neo Veritas, stocking idea for 20 long. Already has leopard danios, striped loaches, something with a pop of color. Platies, mollies. Mollies come in every color of the rainbow. You can get them in blue, red, pink, yellow, orange, white, black, polka dot. Did I say white? I think I did. I never saw a green one. But they come in every color in the rainbow, with the exception of green, I guess. Bettas, you can put a betta in there. It's a lot of color with a betta. The danios won't bother them. Striped loaches won't bother them. Striped loaches, is that a clown loach or is that a coolie loach? What plants work well with goldfish? Um, the obvious one is hornwort. They don't like hornwort. Guppy grass works fairly well too. We do have both. I don't know if I've got the guppy grass listed. We have both of those available. Anubias, cryptocorini, those are pretty safe. Swords are pretty safe. Most of the stem plants get chewed up. Let's see, Jaconzi. Let's get you a wrench. And Jaconzi saying, can someone set up a father fish tank that will last forever with just regular topsoil and no added ingredient? Will fish and plant waste sinking into the substrate be substantial long term? Yeah, absolutely. You may struggle for a while, 6 months to a year, and then up to 5 years before it becomes fully balanced. But yeah, leave it up long enough and it'll balance. No matter what you have in there. Gravel, 6 inches deep gravel will balance in 2 to 5 years. Probably sooner, truthfully. Best way to rinse sand without an outside hose. Best way to rinse sand without an outside hose. Buy the handful or the cupful. Pour it into a quart container, swirl it around, pour it off, do it again with another one. You can do that until you got it half full. Then you got that rinse. It's pretty time consuming, but that'll work. Jumbo, have a quick question. I got the quick start by API. Here we go. And on the thing it says after using it, I can put my fish in right away, but is that true? I heard the nitrogen cycle takes weeks. Jumbo, you need to watch some father fish videos. API. If you put plants in the tank right away, the plants are a factor in the nitrogen cycle. So plants immediately assume a role and a critical role in assimilating ammonia and converting it to nitrogen. Nitrate, nitrogen, which they then build their structure with. So the plant, while it doesn't release nitrate or nitrogen, will absorb ammonia and convert it to be able to use it in its growth cycle. What that means is if you have an adequate amount of plants, and that would be upwards of 50% of the volume of the water in plants, that's not compressed into a tight bunch. That's loose, growing naturally. You can start then with a few fish in that tank day 2. You got the plants in day 1, you got 3 to 5 fish in day 2. A 20-gallon tank, 3 to 5 fish. A 10-gallon tank, 3 to 5 fish. A 5-gallon tank, 3 to 5 fish. The size of the fish is going to be smaller. The quantity does need to change. 1 week. If everything is doing fine, you can add more fish the following week. And then wait another week so that you're gradually adding fish to this environment, you are building the environment. It's becoming a stronger environment that's able to handle more of a biological load. That's critical to understand because a balanced tank is balanced at any moment in time based on whatever is there in that aquarium. It is already balanced. It may not be adequately balanced to support very much life. It may take a little longer, or it may take more organic material to increase the ability of that tank to handle more organic material. If you have a small amount of organics garden going in, just a little tiny bit, you're not going to be able to dump a load in and expect anything other than tragedy because it won't be able to handle it. So think in those terms. It's not trying to create a balance. It's trying to create an environment that's capable of handling everything you want to have in that tank. And you do that slowly and gradually. Good question, Jumbo. Chad, fill me and everybody else in with how we can reach your online store. and the availability. Yeah, somebody posts the link. See if I can do it. Might be able to do this. If you, okay, here, do this. Go to fatherfish.fish, www.fatherfish.fish. The very first thing you come to at the very top of the page is a link to the store. Can't be easier than that. All you have to do is remember fatherfish.fish, and you're there. That also has all the other links. Got the Discord link, the Patreon link, the YouTube link. It's got links to all the other suppliers, as well as some of my favorite YouTubers who are selling fish and other similar stuff who I choose to support. So check it out, fatherfish.fish. That'll get you there. How to stabilize water. Add organic material. That's how you stabilize it, by adding organic material. Start with plants and then add fish. Do that right away. Day 1, plants. Day 2, fish. And then day 3, 4, 5, and 6, start adding leaves and some of the microfauna from your resurrection jar. Start building that food web. And you'll find in a matter of a month or so, you will have a very rich, thriving aquarium. You can build a food web in 3 liters of water. You can build it in a quart of water. Hedgie Senpai. Yeah, that's the other point is there are certain fish that are jumpers. Swordfish are jumpers. He mentions hatchet fish. They certainly are jumpers. Bettas are jumpers. If you got less than an inch of free space, they're going to be out of there. They will jump an inch. So you don't want to fill your tank right to the surface. Never do that. Leave at least an inch at the surface. See my mature water is gold dust, says Harry. How many fish is ideal for a 10-gallon tank? Anywhere between 1 and 50. Depends on the fish, doesn't it? What kind of fish are you talking about? Nicholas Hazelwood, last minute rapping while watching. Nice way to spend an evening. You betcha. Check inside Luke's Goldies. Luke's Goldies. Let's see, I'm down to the bottom here. Bayou Momo is here. Tony Bayou Momo, Merry Christmas to you too. Momo is a grandmother with 5 grandchildren who lives in lower Louisiana. Is it Louisiana? It is Louisiana. Lives down on the bayou and goes fishing and has fish tanks and thoroughly enjoys her grandchildren. Anthony Bukowski. The tank review stream. That was fun. We're going to do that again. That's going to be a regular feature. We need that'll be Wednesday. Now, what we're talking about, I don't know if we're going to get this together, but we're going to try. Wednesday evening from 8 to 9, we're going to do open tank reviews. And then from 9 to 10, we're going to do members only, Patreon, YouTube, Discord, members, and staff. So it's going to be a relatively small group of no more than 100 people. And we'll get more in depth on that. It'll be great fun. So if you want to be part of that, which I'm hoping we'll be able to have set up by this Wednesday, we're almost there. Just trying to figure out the logistics of how to make it happen. It'll start 10 minutes after 9, and will be on YouTube. So you'll be able to get it through YouTube. And you will have a link. You'll be able to get that link at your membership channel. If you're on Patreon, the link will be posted there. You can click on the link. Same with Discord. If you're staff on Discord, click on the link. It'll get you there. Same with YouTube. If you're a member, you'll get a link. You can click on that link. So anyone who is a member of the channel will have access to this members only, a 1-hour live stream chat, 9:10 at night to 10:10 on Wednesdays. And again, I just hope we're able to get it set up and ready to go this week. Anthony, did I give you that wrench? I did. Purge is here. Padius is here. Sidious, rather. Sidious, sorry. Brian Dressler. Merry Christmas from Colombia, South America. Feliz Navidad. Thank you for sharing all that you do with us. I cannot wait to start my first dirt planted tank. Luke M. Thank you, Luke. Get Luke a wrench here. Sidious eats purge AH. Sidious, you have a wrench? I don't think you do. No, you don't. You need to do that right now. Cooking and listening. What are you cooking, Sidious? Y'all making me hungry, says Mama. Yeah, I'm going to need to eat something when I get through this. I had a bowl of crab chowder this morning for breakfast and a little bit of pork rib that I cooked 2 days ago that I totally lost interest in. I think I overcooked it. It got kind of mealy the second time around. I cooked it at 240 for 4 hours, and that was just a bit too long. Have I bred plecos? Have I bred plecos? I don't think I've ever bred plecos. Isn't that weird? I don't believe I ever have. Ryan is getting a wrench, says Tommy. I'm not jute. How often we feed goldfish per day? And which fish works well with them? Mercy. I don't know. Platies. Platies and mollies. I'm big into platies and mollies tonight. Feed them once a day. You don't need to feed more than that. You can feed them every 2 hours because it takes fish 2 hours to void what they've eaten. So you can feed them every 2 hours and they will always have food in their belly and there will always be undigested food laying on the bottom of the tank, fouling the tank horribly. Once a day. feed once a day. No fish needs to eat more than once a day. Now, if you're feeding baby fish, it's a totally different matter. Baby fish have to eat all day long because they don't have any stored fats. If they don't have food in their belly, they die. That's true especially of all of the egg layers. They're born with no fat. They have to be able to eat within the first 15 minutes of burning up the last bit of that yolk. And then they have to eat continuously, constantly, in order to live, just to stay alive. Where is this? Somebody just made, there it is, right there. Who is it? Dakota Cod, $5. Preferred method to get rid of blue-green algae. Plants. Add more plants. If you have algae, it's because you don't have enough plants in the tank. Add more plants and the algae will disappear. If you got algae growing on plants, add more plants and the algae will disappear. The only reason it's there is because you have excess nitrates in the water that the plants cannot eat all of, consume all of, and so there are nitrates left over that the algae gets. High order plants take nitrates and other nutrients out of the water column before algae. They are better at it than algae. So algae stands in line and they are at the end of the line. If you have adequate plants, you will never have algae. I say never. Never is not a good word to use. It will be rare, if ever, that you have algae. Why you don't try any houseplant like pothos? Because my tanks are covered. They can't come up. I can't have leaves coming out. My tanks are completely covered. I have maybe a little tiny crack, so I don't have to keep moving it to feed them. That's why. Dojo Loach can go with goldfish. Yeah, that's a good choice. Monstera. Monster plant is what it is. Liam, Aquafinity. Merry Christmas, Brian Dressler. What's your advice if one to have maybe half a dozen discus and a 100-gallon tank? My advice is do it. Just do it. Do a inch and a half to 2 inch 100-gallon. Do 2 inches of properly mixed dirted substrate, 4 inches of sand, plant it heavily, and put the discus in. Keep the temperature minimum 82, preferably 84, 85. If they are little, feed them a couple of times a day. Feed them inappropriate food. Obviously, if you can feed a live food, that is most appropriate. If you can't get a high quality food, preferably not a flake food, but a granular food, we sell several of them made by the Ottoheim Company in Japan. It is only available in bulk to farmers. We buy it as a farmer and repackage it and sell it in 1-cup containers for, I don't remember how much, $20, I think. Very high, seriously high quality food. I feed it to all my fish routinely. Gary Stein, Bailey's makes cheese. Gary Dose, having trouble with my diffuser. Want to release bubbles, please? Help. It's new from Amazon. You came to the wrong place to talk about diffusers. Ahmad, we don't use diffusers. Was it Ahmad? Oh, Gary Dose, that is. Gary Dose. We don't use diffusers. We don't use, and the reason we don't is because we have a deep substrate that produces far more CO2 than the diffuser could ever possibly generate in an aquarium. And it gets it where the plants need it at the root system. So we have a better way to do that. Now, if you have a lot of plants that are not rooted plants, you may find that CO2 injection works well for the growth of those plants. Let me remind you, or at least clarify for you, two things. Number one, the growth that you are getting is abnormal growth. It is not normal plant growth. It is based on an abnormal environmental condition that the plant is adapting to. Number two, when that condition no longer prevails, the plant will fail. It will begin to break down. It will die off or die back. So it is not a long-term strategy. If you're setting up a tank that's going to be set up for 3 months, 6 months, then go for it. It'll give you an explosion of growth, but you frankly are not going to wind up with plants that you'll be able to use anywhere else unless you do the same thing again. And it has to do with the plant biology. It has to do with the way a plant normally grows and normally develops. It is why more and more farmers are becoming organic farmers and are not using fertilizers, because fertilizers create abnormal growth. So did we do this? Here's another Dakota. So more plants to get rid of cyano. Absolutely. Absolutely, that's right. Hedgie serpi, Dakota, consider adding large floaters, red root or pothos, that can outcompete the algae for high nutrients in the water column pests. Good point. Excellent. Excellent, Hedge. Brian, the discus should be put in last and put the smaller fries of fish, maybe earth eaters than a discus last. Really not necessary, Brian. If you're starting with smaller discus, and you should start with little ones. Get them as small as you can. A 1 to 2 inch, even smaller. Start with a few. And I would put them in that tank once the plants are in. Put 2 or 3 in day 2. Start feeding them day 4. Give them 2 days to adjust. Start putting very tiny amounts of food in. And you can feed them several times throughout the day, but the tiniest pinch of food. In a week, add a few more. You can build it that way, and you'll have a very stable environment. What temperature should I keep a natural tank? It depends entirely on the fish you have in it. If you've got sticklebacks, you want to keep it around 60 degrees. Goldfish, about the same, 65, 70. Mountain minnows, 72, 75 tops. Tropicals, 82, 82 to 85. And that would include Wairu, Discus, uh, Brazilian plecos, all the equatorial fish. Cockatiel says my plants are growing in a month. And Erie is suggesting that Bonnie visit LRB and Fish Story. Could not agree more. Excellent, excellent hobbyists they do things a little differently from me. Not substantially differently, but a little differently. It'll give you a sense of the flexibility you have with this system. With new people, we try to lock it down hard. So you do a certain thing a certain way so that you don't fail. But once you get there and have done that, and you're doing your second, third, fourth, and fifth tank, you're already learning how to be flexible with the system. And you're making decisions about how to vary it. LRB has the most distinctively unique system because he maintains some bare bottom tanks. And I personally would never do a bare bottom tank. Most of his tanks are sand and they're not particularly deep. And he does a lot of plants. And he does few fish in a tank. Restricted amount of fish in a tank. Typically, it's breeders, pairs of breeders. And he'll pull the babies at a point in time and grow them out. Element Castillo, I've been keeping fish since I was a kid, but I just got my first planted tank thanks to Father Fish. Oh, I love it. Thank you, Helen. Happy to make that happen for you. Yeah, we're getting down to it here. Who's this? Doom Pie. First time I heard someone mentioning stickleback for a while. I love stickleback. They're available here in the Bay. I've not been able to find them yet. I think I need to get in more little further up the bay, less selling conditions. I'm down pretty close to the mouth of the bay. I think if I can get up into some of the creeks, I may do better as well. That's why I got a boat. That's why I'm losing weight. So I can get out there in the boat and catch some fish. LRB goes deep. It does go deep. Absolutely, Gary. LRB, LRB is really responsible more than anyone else for my success in YouTube because he introduced me to his people when I was scraping around on the bottom trying to get 100 subscribers and couldn't do it for months at a time. Within 2 to 3 months, 2 months, within 2 months of him introducing me to his people, I broke 1,000 and became finance. What's the word it was? Monetized. How did this year go so fast? Good question. But it certainly did, didn't it? Wasting disease treatments. Typically, it's caused by bacteria. Feed, if they're still eating, feed garlic, crushed garlic, add salt to the water, put them in a hospital tank. You may need to treat with antibiotics. Start with garlic, crushed garlic, and salt. If that doesn't deal it in 2 to 3 days, then you can go to something more more substantial, some antibiotics. Do not start with antibiotics. It's a dangerous thing to do because you could actually promote the illness by not using it for the full cycle. And that would be disaster. Two kinds of native stickleback in the Netherlands, two spiked and three spiked. Great Britain has sticklebacks. There's sticklebacks in Washington State. We have some here in brackish water in the Chesapeake Bay. They're also in Tennessee, but that's in pretty cold water. I got some once that came in to a bait shop of shiners, and I pulled him out, brought him home. I was in Florida. I could not keep them cool enough. Couldn't keep them down around 70 where they needed to be. Liam, found you because you came up on my feed. So happy I did. Had to go buy a tank. Used, but new to me. Now I started another one. Drops my blood pressure to watch the fish. True fact. Well, you're on your way, Lee. Get over on Discord so when you get up to 20 tanks, you'll be able to show them all off. What lights do I recommend? I am currently using, for cheap lights, you can buy expensive lights, they're all over the place. Pick what you want. For cheap lights, I get 100-watt spot LED floodlights. 100-watt LED floodlight. That's what these are. These are 100-watt. I don't know if I can pick it up without burning myself. There it is right there. That's a 100-watt LED floodlight. They sell them also in 200 and in 50 watts. I found the 50 watt are not worth getting. They're just not bright enough. The higher you can put them, if you can hang them from the ceiling, the more the light will cone out. The light from these does not cone at all. It's straight down. But that's the benefit of LED. You got a straight beam. They're made with little cones, but they really don't do much unless you get them pretty high. Tim New, Merry Christmas from Swindon, England. Recently converted my tank to dirt, and it's doing great. And Brian Dressler, wondering if I put fish that have live young like guppies in the tank, then maybe the little baby fish would start feeding the discus. No, they won't. The discus are not going to be interested. And you're not going to have enough to make it work unless you load it up with guppies. And then you've got a counterintuitive situation. You could feed baby guppies, but I wouldn't recommend it because they're not going to chase. Discus are not chasers. They are nibblers. They are peckers. They're biters. They will swim up to something that's stationary and they'll eat it. They don't chase for food. They're not that kind of fish. Good way to remove chloramines from the water. Yes. Vitamin C, 1,000 unit tablets, 1 per gallon. It'll break the molecule, the chlorine ammonia molecule. The chlorine will precipitate out. It'll gas off, and the ammonia will be absorbed by plants. So you need plants in it right away. So much to learn. Tracing, that's why we do the system we do. So a brand new person can set up a tank and be successful right out of the gun, day one. So hang in there with us. Come on over to the Discord channel. You can find it at fatherfish.fish. It's also available as a link on the top of the Facebook, the YouTube page. Ask anybody and they'll give it to you. Discuss what colorful large fish can I have to complete a food web, but you never have to introduce food. I think you're casting them out in the wrong direction, Brian. You need to learn more about this. The food web is most effective for very small fish, not for large fish. All righty. We are done. We are over the limit here. Thank you all for participating. What do we got? We're at 127. I don't know where we were. That's the first time I've looked at the numbers. Lovely to be with you. Merry Christmas to everyone. I do have my Christmas sermon posted. If you're at all interested, please check it out. It's something. If you're a believer, it's something you will appreciate. God bless you. Love you all. Bye for now.